Hello, welcome to Money Matters TV. My name is James Chan. I'm your host today. We're going to have a pretty interesting program. But first of all, I'd like to introduce my co-host, Paul Mitchell. Paul has been a long-time friend and he has been the host for the longest time too, you know that. But today, somehow, well, I suddenly have become the host. I don't know why, but Paul, it's very good seeing you.
Well, pleasure being here, James, and pleasure having you as host.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Impressed.
Yeah, well,
you've come a long
playing
way.
musical chairs. I just got your chair today. But let's go back to the serious matters.
Sure.
Well, we, over the past many times, have talked about different topics. So how about if we have something that I find to be a little personal?
Sure.
You know, oh, by the way, I forgot to introduce myself. James Chan, I run a consultancy. The name is Asia Marketing and Management. I help companies sell to China and other parts of Asia. I've been doing this for more than 3 decades. But the topic I want to go into today, really, you know, something not too many people really want to talk about. It's about getting downsized or fired or laid off or forced to retire by the time you are 50 or 50 plus. And because it has happened to one of my best clients, and come to think about it, Paul, don't you think that it's something, you know, rather a little traumatic? Although I'm as we have discussed for a short while, we don't want to turn this into a talk of fear and loathing. You know, we try to be positive. And first of all, do you think that anytime a person, he or she, gets to be 50 or more, that there's always the danger, regardless of how long you have been with your company, there's always that possibility that
things will come to an end and you'll be going to the next phase of your career.
It happens, right?
It happens. Well, a couple of sort of background comments. Number one, we're qualified to talk about it that because, as the audience can see, we both have a lot of gray hair.
Right.
So not only are we old enough to talk about it, but we've gone through the the experience of living a long time and knowing a lot of people. Another interesting thing is that we originally were involved in some years back in an organization called GPSEG, which is now called Beacon.
Right.
It was a networking organization.
Correct.
And that's one of the things we're going to touch upon in terms of people do lose their jobs or whatever it is, transition. I guess that's the nice word.
Yeah.
Networking is very important. But absolutely, whether it's 50 or older, and the baby boom.
Does it have
generation,
to be 50? What about 45? What about 45 plus? 48 and a half.
Not much of a problem. I mean, the problem's going to grow. It's like your health is going to deteriorate the older you get.
Okay, gotcha.
But I think, and the baby boom generation is the biggest generation, so this is happening more often.
There's one thing I've always wanted to ask people like you who were born here. I'm the immigrant. I'm from Hong Kong originally, which is when you were growing up in this country as a citizen, going to all the good schools.
Sure.
Did this kind of people 50 plus getting laid off or forced to retire or asked to leave, whatever, did it happen in the 70s, in the 60s, in the 70s, or it only started happening in the 80s? Let me know. Tell me your experience.
Well, I would say it started increasing more in the 70s and 80s. Before that, people worked for one company for 25, 30 years. They got the gold watch, when they turned 65.
Right.
They retired, had a pension. Life was good. America was and still is great.
Yeah. When I started out my practice in 83, one of my first 3 clients was the senior VP of a very successful company. And after we got to know each other well, one day he confided in me. He said, James, I work for this particular company. I was the second highest paid executive in the company with 800 employees, and so it's not small.
Yep.
And he said, but every single time I leave my home in Cherry Hill, I would say to myself, this could be my last day. And then one day, 17 years later, it actually happened.
Well, yeah.
Around noontime, his phone rang, and the human resources manager called and say, hey, why don't we meet in a hotel nearby? He knew that
not a good sign, right.
And he was right.
Yeah.
I had an even more traumatic experience, which is I was with a client, this time a woman, a lady, who invented the telemarketing system for her publishing company. And she and I went to China. We were having breakfast in Beijing, and her cell phone rang, and she was fired.
Ouch.
Yes.
Thousands of miles away from the
So-
office, right?
So let's talk. How should people get prepared if in fact it is a fact of life? What should people do, Paul?
Well, they shouldn't. You don't want to be totally blindsided, like it could never happen to me.
Right.
That's number one. I mean, 20, 30 years ago.
Which is easier said than done, Paul.
Yes.
Because if you have been with your company for
Right.
20 years, 25 years, 30 years, you kind of assume that this is normal.
Right. Right. Well, develop a circle of associates, whether
Right.
it's your trade association, your college alumni, that type of thing.
Right.
Become a little more knowledgeable of what's going on around you, not just in your own cocoon, your own your home, your community, your employer's business, that office. So that's one way. And as I mentioned before, networking is one aspect of that.
Right.
Get involved in doesn't have to be a trade association, just a networking group of sort of
I think
like-minded,
that's a great idea.
maybe similar level, business associates. If you're a professional, other professionals. If you're not a professional, somebody kind of in your level, and then you'll learn about some of their experiences too. Okay,
correct.
so be a little bit prepared. I mean, if you're going to be thinking about every time you get in the car driving to work, this may be my last day. It's probably going to take very long for you to get fired because you're going to have a bad attitude.
Yeah.
So you don't want to let that happen.
Right.
But you got to keep your eyes open. Keep other opportunities. LinkedIn, things like that. Read the newspapers. Trade association journals, that type of thing. What's going on. So if it does happen, or if and when it does happen, you won't be totally blindsided. You'll be prepared a little more to do something about it.
Yeah. We can talk more about this, but let's go back and get a, I want you to ask a question because we accept questions from the
Sure,
audience.
sure.
And this time on this show, there is a person in Philadelphia by the name of Joyce Lang, and she has a wonderful question for you, the commercial banker.
Right.
She said, well, because interest rates are rising, and so will banks as a category
Right.
be a good long-term investment, Paul,
Well-
for Joyce?
Well, Joyce and the rest of the audience, my main response is, it depends. It could be. I'll make a couple of comments. Banks make more money when interest rates are higher than they currently are. Why is that? Well, I'll give you an example. If a bank has $1 billion in assets, and that's a good-sized bank, not a real big bank, not a real small one, it probably has around $100 million in capital. Most banks have that kind of leverage 10 to 1 through getting deposits and things like that. So they use their capital as a base to do bigger things. So they have $100 million in capital. They don't have a direct cost of that capital. They don't pay interest on it. They don't pay 6% up on a savings account, which they would have to do. So I'll call it free money. So if interest rates right now, like for a loan is 4%, they're going to make $4 million on that $100 million of capital. If interest rates go up 1 point to 5%, they're going to make another 1% on that $100 million, another $1 million for doing nothing more, just being being in
good.
business.
Sounds
So you
good.
can say, well, then the higher the interest rates are, the better the bank's going to do. Well, up to a point. Moderation is the key. If interest rates go up to 12, 15%, which they did 30 some odd years ago, who wants to borrow? Who can borrow at that rate? What's going to happen? So the economy is going to fall apart if that happens. So in general, banks will make more money with interest rates being higher up to a point. Then it's which bank? Not too long ago, some of the biggest banks in the country went virtually bankrupt and had to be bailed out by the federal government. Didn't matter what interest rates were at that point in time. So, the good operating banks are not so good operating banks, strong banks, weaker banks, all that goes into the equation. So it's not an easy answer.
Very good, Paul, and thank you for the advice. In the meantime, we do want more questions for Money Matters TV. This is how you send in your questions.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says Send Us Your Questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, M-O-N-E-Y, -matters, M-A-T-T-E-R-S, TV.com.
Hello, we're back again. It's time for us to introduce our guest today. Our guest today, a person I've known for quite some time and admire a lot. His name is Robert Madonna. Bob, Robert.
James, great to see you.
Welcome to Money Matters TV.
Thrilled to be here.
Very good. And you know Paul. And
Paul,
you've done
good to
business
see you.
together. Paul.
Yes.
Right. And so Bob is the CEO of Surrey Services. And of course, we in the next 15, 20 minutes, Paul and I are going to ask him a ton of questions about how he manages, grows Surrey Services. But first of all, Bob, just tell the viewer, what is Surrey Services?
Surrey was started 37 years ago with a wonderful mission by a woman named Jean LaRoche. She saw a need in the community to transport older adults to things like their doctors, their stores, whatever it may be. Started in her attic, and over time grew the organization to be a thriving organization serving people in Delaware County, Chester County, and part of Montgomery County. In the 37 years now, we're a thriving organization. I'm the third CEO. Right now, we serve about 6,000 older adults in the area. We provide free transportation, free dental. We have Meals on Wheels. We have senior centers throughout the area. We also provide classes, educational opportunities. And what we really have right now is a growing home care service, which provides older adults things like house cleaning, companion care, financial management. And we also getting ready to do respite care on the weekends to help people who have loved ones they're caring for and they need a break maybe for 4 or 5 hours a day. And what we position ourselves is to be a very holistic approach to helping older people and their families.
What's the minimum age for people to qualify?
So we look at 55 and above, James. That's kind of what we say an older adult
So
is.
not 50, 55.
Not 50. But again, if somebody 53 walked up and we need to help them, we would. I don't like to use the word senior. I'm one, okay?
Yeah.
I just turned 65, so I'm officially a senior.
Right.
But we say older adults.
Okay.
And realistically, not only when I look at the people we help, it ends up being more helpful for the family.
Right.
So people between, say, 45 and 65 have older parents and they need help. They come to us and say, how can I help out?
Do they have to be qualified, and what are the qualifications?
To be a member, it's very expensive. It's $35 a year. And that's it,
Wow.
okay? One of the neat things we do in our Devon location is a beautiful building. It's only 4 years old. We serve lunch there every day for $4.
It's
Amazing. And it's
like
three different options and homemade desserts.
Right.
And what's the address there?
You come see us, okay?
And the phone number later.
But here's the beauty.
You pick me up?
Part of what we do is the socialization of getting people out.
Right.
The average age we serve is about 80 years old.
80?
80.
That's
Yeah,
average.
that's the average
not
age.
median.
Average.
Wow.
But you asked the question about pricing. So yeah, most of our things are free, but our home care is private pay.
Okay.
So that's an hourly rate. It could be, depending on the service, $22, $26 and even up. We have a new service we're working with where we actually have an RN take you to the
That's home service.
home care services.
Home care service.
Home care service.
And of course, I know a little that there is also the transportation aspect of
right.
it, and then there's also the community senior center aspect of
Correct.
it. Tell me more.
So we have 4. We have our main location in Devon. It's a thriving organization there. We have 17,000 square feet
Right.
with our headquarters there.
Right.
And there's things going on from 8:30 to sometimes 7, 8 o'clock at night. For example, Sunday, we're doing a veterans dinner. We have 50 veterans coming to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. We have a center in Havertown. It's a smaller center, older center. We're in the process of possibly rehabbing it. Same thing in Media. We have an older center there that we're in the process of having rehabbed. And we have a small center in Broomall, Pennsylvania. And currently looking to expand to partner with organizations of faith where we can use our facility during the day to do classes and workshops and social.
Bob, what's the financial model? How do you pay for it in nice buildings and things like that?
Great
Well,
question.
to be honest, the building I'm in, which is beautiful, was financed by one wonderful person who is renamed anonymous, who basically donated quite a lot of money to build it.
Wow.
Our money comes from our home care, helps us out. We do get some grants from their Pew Foundation. We get some money from Delaware County Department of Aging. We've gotten money from the Chester County Department of Aging. Some of our townships provide us
But
money.
federal? No federal?
No federal.
State?
Local.
Local?
Yeah.
Not even state?
Well, state comes down through the lottery.
Okay.
A small piece
Gotcha.
funnels through down to the county. And really the key is individuals, people who care about the mission. Okay. That's a big piece,
Yeah.
and that's the toughest piece. I said earlier when we were getting ready, there's 43,000 nonprofits in the area. Everyone
Amazing.
needs money, and they all have great missions.
Yeah.
So the word competition is never used in the
Yeah.
nonprofit sector. It's competition for $1.
Now I know that there are many volunteers. You said you have about 1,000, maybe more than 1,000 volunteers.
1,300 volunteers.
Then how? This is not a trick question, so
Yeah, I
don't
like
take it the wrong way.
No, it's okay.
Okay, so you have an operating profit. I
Yeah.
mean, it's surplus.
We try to stay
Right.
cash flow positive.
And then you have so many volunteers. Wouldn't some of the volunteers say to you, well, you're making money, so why should I volunteer my services? How do you deal with that? Bob, I don't mean to be difficult,
no.
okay?
Volunteering is part of our mission.
Right.
Keeping older adults engaged
Yeah,
is part of what we do.
I see.
So we have a woman, she's 90 years old, comes in 3 days a week and works in our finance department.
I see.
It's a job for her. She's active. The folks in our cafe, we have our cafe, they come in 75, 80 years old, they volunteer 1 or 2 days a week. They feel like they're doing something. So the volunteering is not just to help us financially. When you look at it, on an average per hour, it's about $1.2 million in that we get from volunteers.
Yeah.
Be honest, we couldn't survive without
Sure,
it. Our drivers, our volunteer drivers do it. You know why? They love taking people to the doctors and building a relationship with them. People who are retired, people who work in, we have folks who go in homes and help people who are older who can't take care of the outside, the inside. They get benefit personally from it.
True, but you do have staff members who have to be paid.
Oh,
and
yes,
they are
yes,
paid.
yes,
So
yes.
there is a difference.
Like
Oh,
you.
absolutely. Like me. I get paid
Right, you can't-
amazingly.
You can't have everybody being a
I do get
volunteer.
paid. But realistically, when you look at the nonprofit sector, it traditionally pays a lot less than the for-profit sector.
I got you.
So people come to it because the mission motivates them. When I got into this, I didn't know a lot about older adults other than I was getting older.
Right.
And I'd be honest, I had a fear of getting older. And
all
I'm the baby at 65. I'm the baby, right?
You're still a baby.
I see amazing people do. We have a gentleman. He's 85 years old. He still acts,
Okay.
and he still drives at night.
Pick a Yun question.
Yeah.
With so many volunteers, and we live in a litigious society.
Right.
What if some of these volunteers accidentally, unwittingly, or certainly unwillingly, make a mistakes, and there are accidents? Are they covered?
Great question. Needless to say, we do have insurance on what we do, and our volunteers all go through a background check.
Right.
Okay, we do go through a vetting process. We do, like our drivers do have insurance, and they have to have insurance on the car. It's current. We check that. They can't have offenses there. If there is an accident, their insurance picks it up first. We come in second. In my close to 3 years there, we haven't really had an incident yet.
Oh, good for you. I'm glad.
Our home care
I'm
people,
glad
think
to
about it, they're in people's
I'm glad
homes.
to know, yeah.
Some live there 7 by 24, have not had an incident.
Yeah.
It's a lot about really understanding the people you're hiring, making sure they're motivated and recognize it's just like a regular business.
Bob, how did Surrey grow so much? I get this so big. I mean, with all these other services and competition, like you said, that's a marvelous story.
Well, 37 years is a long time,
Yeah.
number one. Number two, they've done amazing work in the community, so they're known in the community. But realistically, every day, 10,000 people turn 65. It's
Yeah,
a
the
boom.
baby boomer
Yeah,
generation. My
it's a market
generation
boom.
too. Yeah.
Okay.
But while we have a lot of people to support, you'll be shocked. My biggest problem, while financial is always a problem,
Right.
is finding the people to support. The generation we support likes to say, Bob, it's okay, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I don't need any help.
Right.
And
I don't
that's
want
a
to be a
problem.
burden. I don't want to be a burden.
Exactly. And that's a problem for us. My generation will be like, give me more services, okay? And the next generation will be saying, I want even more. The generation we serve is kind of like that, what's that generation from?
Greatest generation.
Greatest generation. They're very independent. I got people in their 90s still driving every day to our center. I have people who refuse help. It's really finding the people because it's sad. We're at a place now where children have moved away. They're in California. We have to find those people.
Before before 37 years
Yes.
ago.
Yeah.
What happened? And for that matter, who are some of the competitors of Surrey Services? I mean, some people must be at work doing more or less the same
we
thing.
probably
40 years ago,
Well-
50 years ago, what happened?
Well, realistically, families took care of each other.
Oh,
Okay,
I
people,
gotcha.
especially in this area, they don't move away.
I got
You
you.
live down the street from your grandmother. You took care of her.
Pennsylvania in particular. People
Yes.
used to leave Pennsylvania to retire in Florida.
Yeah.
3 years later, they come back.
Yeah.
Learn something new.
I always tell people
Interesting.
90%
Mhm.
of the people who live here, if you line them up,
Right.
lived here their whole life.
Okay.
So they took care of it, but that's changing. And when you say competition, senior centers, they're around a lot, but they're struggling because they're mostly government funded. When you look at our home care, there's 600 various organizations in the area that,
600.
that provide home
What?
care services.
A lot of them are for profit.
Yeah, most of them are for profit.
Yeah.
Chains, a lot of them are mom and pops, but they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And our issue is we got to show people that we're the best. It's like anything else.
Sure.
I don't like to offend people, but when you look at what we do, we're a business that just happens to be a not-for-profit. And we have to act like that. That's why we're now growing. We have marketing programs. We added people to our development to find ways to grow.
But the growth can come from membership. The $35 a
that's-
year. It's
No,
really.
it's really. We're now trying to find corporations that support us. There's a great corporation out our way called TE Connectivity, who's been amazingly supporting us with people and some money. The foundations. The problem is that they like what we do, but I tell folks, I don't have babies and puppies. Older people aren't really attractive. United Way just cut off all funding for older adults. Gone. I was getting $165,000 a year. Gone. Got to start. They're giving it to intergenerational poverty, which is a wonderful mission.
yeah.
But if you're on my side of the shop,
Yeah.
it's
So,
gone.
Bob, so if our audience were interested in getting involved with Surrey, number one. Number two, what could they do for you, or how
Okay.
would they contact you?
Sure.
You have contact information, website.
Now, just to be clear, we serve Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery County.
Okay.
So we do not serve the city. There is organizations in the city that do things we do.
Okay. You don't serve the
We
city.
don't serve the city. Okay, so now someday maybe we will, but we got to take care of our area first. Our website, www.surreyservices.org.
SURREY. Okay.
Services, SERVICES.org. Go on there, you can see all the services. What do we need help with? Besides volunteers, but I need help getting the word out that we're there to help people.
By the way, are you affiliated to certain institutions, and do you have like MDs on premise, registered nurses?
We have RNs and we have
Okay.
social workers.
Right.
We do not have any MDs. We partner with a lot. Mainline Health is a partnership with us.
Right.
So we work with them. We work with doctors because they love us because we can take people back and forth for a doctor's appointment. And that's great because,
Right.
you know, how many people can't get to the doctor?
Yeah.
I had some serious health issues recently. And if it wasn't for my wife, I would be in big trouble. And I found the first time in my life, like, I can't get in the car and drive. And there are some people who can't do that. So we're a blessing. I get letters all the time saying, God, Bob, because of you, I'm really able to survive. I can get to where I have to go.
So the service is really geographically based. In
Right
other
now.
words, if I have a residential address in the Center City, Philadelphia, I cannot qualify. Just
Well,
can't.
no, if
you
you
won't
c-
even answer my call.
No. We'll answer your call and we can direct to where you can go.
Okay.
There are organizations,
All right. Yeah.
Philadelphia Department of Aging
Right.
is a very, very large organization.
Right.
Does a lot of things we do. And there's an organization called JEVS, also does some things
Oh
we
yeah,
do.
the Jewish.
Yeah, you know JEVS, right?
Sure.
So we know where to direct people. So I don't tell people don't call us.
Right.
You know, our job is to help people and to make it easy. And do we really want to reduce stress?
Yeah. Bob, a little bit off the side,
Yeah.
but what's your advice to people that would be interested in getting involved in running a nonprofit or something like that? I mean, you were
Good
looking at it for a
question.
long time. And
Very good question.
So this is my fourth career. And I know these gentlemen from the days of GP-SEG. And I love networking. I was honored, besides 6 other people, to be given a Networking for Life award. It is basically get out there and meet people. It is the most, number one, like I say, these gentlemen I knew 10, 12 years ago. People are shy. If you want to make a change, whether you're in transition, code word I'm out of a job, or you want to go into a different segment, you got to do homework. I went back to college and got a certificate in nonprofit management. I served on 8 different boards.
Right.
I did consulting with nonprofits, and then all of a sudden, people say, "Hey, this Madonna guy, he's pretty good." I did my homework
And dedicated.
and cared, because they'll look at your resume, and if you haven't done any work in a nonprofit, they don't need you.
Right.
So I tell people, make an investigation. There are friends of mine, Eric David, Jory Berard, guys I counsel that they've done it. And I say, make it. Like I'm 65, I started this at 48 years old.
Wow.
Okay? So I spent 10 plus years before I got this opportunity. But the most important thing is find a mission that turns you on.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But of course, people also have to have energy. I mean, you're a bundle of energy. Look at you.
I've been blessed.
You cannot be. You're like the rabbit. You can't stop.
Well, I've been blessed, but when you're motivated and passionate,
Right,
it's
right.
pretty easy. If you're doing something you don't like, I don't care how much energy you have.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think we have to wind this down because
I have
the time is up. Quick.
One question,
Yeah.
not too long an answer,
Yeah.
but when you took over, did you make any significant changes right away? Did you reorganize staff, things of that nature?
So fortunately, before this, I did 4 turnarounds in the for-profit world, and I learned for 6 months, shut your mouth and listen. 6 months, start putting together your game plan.
Right.
The second year, you can start doing changes.
Okay.
Most people fail and they go to nonprofits because they know everything,
Right, right.
and they crash and burn. So I did not do that.
That's great. That's great advice.
To summarize,
Yeah.
talking a lot may not be a good thing.
Listening is the most important thing when you start
Agree.
out. Yeah.
Totally agree. Yes. I think that we have a great program. Our next guest to be interviewed on Money Matters TV will be Marina Kats, JD. She is part of the firm. She probably is the owner, I don't know, but her firm's name is Katz Jameson Associates. So I hope that you will watch that program, and thank you very much for your viewing, and I hope to see you very soon.